All right, you're listening to KTOH 90.3 FM, Honolulu. It is the top of the hour, 7 o'clock, Saturday, March 9, 2013. And I have on the line, I have Dr. Brian Weiss. Doctor, are you there?
Yes, I am.
I am.
DJ.
Yeah, thank you so much for, I really, really appreciate you doing this interview with me. It's such an honor to have you on the show on the Feast of Friends.
Oh, thank you so much.
Dr. Weiss is a graduate of Columbia University, also Yale University School of Medicine, where he received his residency in psychiatry, and he has published over 37 scientific papers. Correct me if I'm wrong, Doctor. Okay.
Yeah.
And on the subject of psychology, and as well as author of I'm not sure. I think it's about 9 books.
9, exactly.
Books, yep. And with the bestseller, of course, Many Lives, Many Masters. And his current book right now, which he's also authoring with his daughter, Amy Weiss, called Miracles Happen. And welcome on the Feast of Friends.
Thank you so much.
And, there's so much to talk about. I had to write everything down because we have so much. There's so many things. I don't know if we can pull everything in the show, but you are coming to Hawaii. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to do an interview with you, because it is such an honor to have you here. I've always wanted to have you. I always wanted to go to one of your workshops.
Oh, that would be great. It's actually my first trip to Hawaii.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Wow.
I've been to Tahiti several times and like doing workshops on a cruise ship there or just visiting. But for some reason, and I've been to really remote places in this world, but Hawaii, I guess it was just waiting for now. So it's very exciting to come there and to put on this one-day workshop, because that gives a chance for people to experience what it's like to have a past life regression, a deeper introspective meditation experience, all of these things that we do over the course of the day.
Why did you decide to come to Hawaii like only now?
I always wanted to. No question about it. I live in Miami, so I'm living in a beautiful tropical climate. So there's the Caribbean here and islands here, and I always wanted to, but somehow other places came up with huge, numbers for workshops. For example, the week after Hawaii, I'll be going back to San Francisco to do the same sort of one-day, full-day workshop, and that's already sold out.
Wow.
Large number of people in San Francisco, because I've been there several times before doing it. So that's what's exciting to me about Hawaii. It's the first time. I've even done these in Japan.
Oh, yeah,
I've been in Tokyo. I've done the same one-day workshop, and other places in Asia and South America and Europe. But this opportunity to come to Hawaii is really great. So my wife is coming with me, and we'll be doing this one-day workshop and then staying around the islands a few days after the workshop too, just to explore and experience the islands. And
so this particular workshop is called the all-day workshop. It is on past life regression therapy, and it begins at 10 o'clock on April 6th at the Hawaii Convention Center, and that's right on Kapilani Boulevard, and it goes all the way until 5 o'clock. And
yes, it's really a full day, and all the details about it are on my website, which is just my name. It's brianweiss.com. And it's sponsored by Hay House, which promotes and publishes a lot of spiritual books and does these events. And the person I work with, have worked with a lot through Hay House, Wayne Dyer, he lives on Maui, and we work together. So he's done many workshops in Hawaii. Doreen Virtue, another Hay House writer, she lives on Maui too now. So it's, I don't know, the islands are gaining in popularity, and people, I guess when they experience it, they stay.
So are you going to, have you been to Maui?
No, but I will be on this same trip.
Oh, I remember, I think it was a couple of years ago, I was, I always Google what's going on with you, every once in a while. Because the first time I was turned on to your first book, Many Lives, Many Masters, was a decade after it was published, which it came out in 1988.
Right.
So I think it was 1998, when a friend of mine named Paul gave me the book, and he said, "Read this; it's really good. Read it." So I read it, and unfortunately, he moved away. We were communicating for a while, and we lost touch. And ever since then, I haven't heard from her until until recently when I was able to find out that when I found out you were coming here, and I made contact with you with the interview. And then that's when I emailed him. I looked for his email, and I was able to reconnect again. So that's one of the things that
Great.
I have to say, that how you always say, we are all connected.
Yes, we are. And for the people that don't really know it that well, Many Lives, Many Masters, that was the first book that I wrote in this sort of spiritual series. I, as a psychiatrist and trained in a very academic way, I didn't believe in past lives and reincarnation and in life after the death of the physical body, the other side, these spiritual things. I really didn't believe in that. Then I had a patient come in, Catherine, the woman in Many Lives, who kind of, when I was using hypnosis to go back to her childhood, where she had really a sort of amnesia, she had forgotten many important events, she started remembering past lifetimes, and all of her symptoms disappeared with these memories. It turns out to be a very healing experience when you remember a trauma from a past life. Even if you don't believe in past lives, the symptoms get better in this life. Like you have a fear of heights and you were thrown off a castle wall in the 12th century. Well, that fear then disappears. And people were, Catherine started it, but then I would see other people, and people were starting to get rid of their symptoms by remembering past lives. Even if they didn't believe in it, they were still coming to my office to have the therapy because they wanted to feel better, not have their lives paralyzed by phobias or fears or physical symptoms. And so that really changed my mind completely, from a complete skeptic to someone who's now, I've done this work with more than 4,000 patients, because Catherine came into my office around 1980, and Many Lives, as you mentioned, came out in 1988. So it's been quite a while now that I've been researching this whole field, and it's been really marvelous. That's another reason I do these workshops, to give people the opportunity to have the experiences themselves. You can do it in a group of people. It doesn't have to be in an individual private session. And in that manner, they can experience the healing effect also. So it's really been great just to be able to meet people from all over the world who've been helped by these techniques. And the last book of mine, you mentioned the one I wrote with my daughter Amy, Miracles Happen, that really is a collection of stories of people who have had experiences in these workshops.
Yeah, and I really enjoy reading all of the experiences, because then I can relate to how it kind of relates to me, maybe.
Yeah.
So you kind of have a little connection with some of these, and these are real people telling you about their experiences, right?
Yes, there are people who have come to workshops, or some of the therapists that we've trained. Some of them are their patients, or have gone to other workshops where the therapists that we trained then sent us the experience. And we sort of collected hundreds and hundreds, and then whittled it down to maybe 75 or 80 of the most instructive and interesting ones. And then I comment on each one. It's really been a fascinating journey, DJ, of what you said. It does relate to you. It relates to everybody, because we all have physical bodies. We've all had past lifetimes, and they still are influencing us now. So not just emotionally, as I mentioned, with phobias and fears, but physically, like you may have been hanged in a past life and have neck pain in this life, but also in relationships. A lot of the people that we meet, we've been with them before. The souls have been together, and we kind of recognize them at a level. And we call these meetings soulmates, or soul companions, or twin souls, this kind of thing. And there's a great deal of evidence that this is true in relationships. They're not just beginning now, not our most significant ones. We've been with many of these souls before in other lifetimes.
I have a question. How do you recognize a soulmate that you meet in this life, okay? Like, let's say you're regressing them, and then they're going back, and then they're seeing that person. And then, I read it in your books that, I see, my
right.
husband. But how do they know when they look different?
They do look different, but sometimes it's a look in the eyes. They just recognize that person. Sometimes you meet a person, not even during a regression. You just meet a person, and there's a sense of familiarity, like you know that person so well, as if you've known them for years, but you just met. It's a deeper level. Sometimes it's a touch. Something just elicits that kind of recognition, like a soul recognition. So it can be any of those things, a look in the eye, a dream.
Right.
A lot of people wrote to me after I wrote a book. It's called Only Love is Real. It's about
that's
soulmates.
my favorite. That's my favorite book so far.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's I love Soulmates, and I thought that was very, very touching. And some of the stuff in there you wrote are very, kind of relate to me too. So.
Well, you're what we say now. Like, there's a quote from a famous mystic called Teilhard de Chardin. He said, "We are not human beings having a spiritual experience here, but we are spiritual beings having a human experience." So we're all souls. We're all souls, and so what you experience, that's what everybody experiences too. And now, when you meet a soulmate, they're going to look different because they're in the present day body.
Right.
And that may be very different from what it was before, because we change sex, we change race, we change religions and nationalities. We have to learn from all sides. We have to be everything. And that's how we learn in this earth school, this physical school. So, but there's often a look in the eye or a feeling or a sense of knowing, and then you say, oh, that's my father, or that was my grandfather, that was this, or I recognize you. And,
another question I have, you know how you talk about soulmate families, we travel in families?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, when I'm looking at families, are you talking about immediate family, like your mother, your father, your brother, and your sister? Is that...
It will include them, but sometimes it includes it could be best friends or people, they don't have to be blood relatives, because they may come to you in a different way. We have many more soulmates than one.
Right.
So you may have been with your father before, your grandmother, your best friend, your lover, but the relationships may change. Let's say your brother in this life was your great-grandmother, and that's how it works, because they change. We all do. Race, religion, physical bodies. Relationships change, but the souls are the same.
I noticed too, I have some friends who are together. They're like a couple.
Yeah.
And they have similar birth dates, like very close to each other.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if that's I know you mentioned in one of your, which is an interesting one, okay, you mentioned, I think it was on Oprah Radio, because I know you were in the Oprah show twice.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think it was Oprah Radio, you talked about decisions, when we die, decisions are made before this is like decisions are made before you were born.
Right.
So you kind of make an agreement with your soulmates you're going to be with. Is that so?
I think so. Yeah, life is so important. We come into these physical bodies to learn lessons, but we're not the bodies, we're the souls. So after the life is ended, we move on. We go on to the other side. We don't just disappear. Then when we come back here, we choose the time and the nature of our birth. And choosing the proper moment is very important. So you'll come under at a time or a sign, something like that. And sometimes, as a psychiatrist, I got to see all kinds of different people. And as a psychiatrist doing past life therapy, a lot of people who might not be comfortable seeing traditional therapists, they would come to see me because it was safe. So I would see some of the most famous astrologers, for example, in the world. They would come as patients because they knew it was safe to see me, and I wouldn't think that they were crazy or anything like that. I'd know what the symptoms were. Mm-hmm. And so when I see a patient, I learn what they do, too, because we talk at deeper levels. So I learned about astrology. Then I saw in my patients coming to me that there were these birth connections. And they would chart it out, but for me, being somewhat still very left brain, I had to learn it for myself and see it for myself. And then I saw, we do choose the time of our birth. We choose our parents. We come into these situations to provide the best learning possibilities for us as we travel along our spiritual path. And so, these connections are very real. And we're not here for the first time. Almost everybody has had past lives. Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that's interesting to note, when I was reading one of your books too, you mentioned about someone with a severe disability in this lifetime, they're kind of considered what's called advanced souls or evolved souls, and they choose that.
Right. It can be. Sometimes what I've seen is sometimes the most difficult lifetimes are those where you can really accelerate your spiritual growth. So sometimes a kind of advanced soul will choose a difficult life because they can grow and evolve and advance more. And it's not a punishment. It's not that kind of thing. It's just like being in graduate school. You're not going to take arithmetic. You're going to take something more complex. And sometimes a very advanced soul will take on a very difficult life to progress even more so and to help other souls along their learning pathways too. So you see, it's not. Sometimes people think, "Oh, I must have been really bad in a past life, bad karma. Look at this. Look at my life now. I must have done terrible things." But not necessarily at all. It can just be that, "Oh no, you're in graduate school and the courses are difficult."
And another thing was I found interesting was about suicide. Suicide. Suicide caused by mental illness or something like that. They tend to come back more quickly.
Right, for sure. And it's not the same consequences either. This is just from my own research I'm talking about. I'm working with all of these patients over the past 32 years since Catherine first began her therapy with me. And I find that people who commit suicide because of mental illness, or it can be someone with also advanced physical disease that has no hope of recovery, that's not a karmic thing at the same level as, say, a stockbroker who commits suicide because of embezzlement and humiliation or that kind of thing. That's more serious because there you're taking a perfectly healthy body, which you're supposed to be using to evolve on your spiritual path, to learn your lessons here, and leaving it because of humiliation or not a mental illness, not something like that. That sometimes the person has to come back here and face a lot of the same situations and learn a better way to cope, because the physical body is very important and we should take care of it. It's how souls manifest in the physical dimension, like the earth.
Now, what about, tell us about, do you believe in guardian angels?
I do. We call them by different names, in guardian angels, masters, in Many Lives, Many Masters.
Yes.
Catherine was talking, really communicating to me information and messages from this group, which you could also call angels of certain levels. So in Eastern religions, they're often called deities or bodhisattvas, advanced beings. So the answer is yes, I do. And they help us. That's what they do here.
And, then spirit, I know you call them spirit guides.
Yes.
Yeah. That's very, sometimes I feel that, there's somebody there, but sometimes I don't know if it's an entity or some kind of thing. I mean, I don't know the difference, but I mean...
It would be positive, though, to help you. And sometimes you say entity, and people have mixed feelings about that word, because we've all seen The Exorcist and movies like that. But I'm talking about those like higher spiritual beings that help us from the other side. Mm-hmm. And I find that happens a lot, because we're not alone here. This is a whole universe of dimensions, different energy levels, different vibrations. We're so much greater than just our bodies or our brains, but we're spiritual beings as well. And we have been the others too. We've been kind of helpers on the other side. Sometimes, like before you were born, let's say your parents were born, they were here when they were younger. Maybe you were helping them out from the other side. Mm-hmm. And maybe as a grandparent or someone dies and goes to the other side, they help us who are still in physical bodies. They help us out. So it can be angels, or it can be just souls who have crossed back over, transitioned to the other side, and they're helping us out. There's a whole hierarchy and universe of spiritual beings that are helping us out here while we live our physical lifetimes.
So are you saying the angels, someone would choose to be an angel?
Well, that's complicated, and people have different theories about it, but when you leave your body, you're a soul. It doesn't mean that you're an angel, but you're on the other side. You can help out your soul, and it's not so different from being an angel. It's all different vibrations on the way to the highest levels, which we can't really comprehend completely. So whether we're saying souls, advanced souls, spiritual beings, angels,
I see.
it's all kind of connected.
And then you mentioned also there are many possible futures. I guess, I don't know.
Yeah, that's a little more complicated because physicists are showing us now that there's so many universes, infinity of universes. And I wrote another book, it's called Same Soul, Many Bodies, about this concept of an infinity of futures. So every time we make a choice, it changes the futures. And we can change our future by making intelligent and wise choices now. So, there are many possible futures and future lifetimes because they're telling us, these physicists, that time is not what we think. It's not just linear. That time is connected to this physical planet, to Earth. But on the other side, there's no time.
So, I have a question about dreams. This kind of connected to the future, but have you ever had any cases where someone you're regressing dreamt of a soulmate that they haven't met yet?
Yes, and people will get in touch with me with this very kind of phenomenon, this information. We call these precognitive dreams, where people dream of the future. And a lot of people, they'll dream of their soulmate or soulmates before they even meet. And then when they meet, they say, wow, I've dreamed of you, and it's been absolutely true. A lot of people, after Only Love is Real was published, wrote to me with stories like that, soulmate stories. And some people have precognitive dreams not just of a person, but of an event happening. It can be a negative event
like deja vu kind of thing.
Yeah, like deja vu. And then when it happens, they know it. And I've had that too. We all kind of, because the future, again, it gets complicated, and not to lose people with this, because not that many people are into modern physics, but the future is going on right now.
Yeah, I totally believe that. And, I know it's very complicated, and sometimes, it's timeless.
Right.
You even have souls that kind of progress to, they're kind of like, they may not be in this world, but they may be in another dimension.
Right.
And that's a whole different topic. I know there's so much to ask, but that's one of the, I totally can understand that.
I know, and it's very real. I see it in my practice, and I've seen people who know some future events, and beyond any statistical ambiguity, they really predict very fine events. And it all gets back to us, though, at the nature of our being. And even without losing people, the bottom line is still to become a kinder, more compassionate, more loving person, because that solves all the problems. Then you're going to have your best lifetimes in the future. This is why we're here. And we have to get rid of this sort of judgmental meanness that we have. We can't be violent. We can't be, hate people. We can't be prejudiced, because that runs against what we're supposed to be learning as souls, which is to be kinder and more loving and more compassionate, more patient, all of these virtues that we know about but are so difficult to do. Then when you do that, you sort of get into a feeling of timelessness and patience. People who meditate also develop these abilities. And then you get an idea of time in the future. And you can see it, but it doesn't matter as much, because the present time has become so much more pleasant, so much more joyful, that's what's important. So I just wanted to balance that, the physics with the compassion part, because it's fascinating. This whole thing is fascinating.
Yeah, I'm very fascinated with your latest book as well, Miracles Happen, and that's the latest one that came out of last year.
Yes.
And now going to this workshop, let's fast forward to April 6th.
Mm-hmm.
This is in the Hawaii Convention Center,
right,
Kapilani Boulevard. Are you going to be talking about psychometry?
I'm going to. What that is, That's just one of the exercises that I do, DJ. So I'll be doing at least 4 group exercises during the day. 2 large group regressions where I regress the whole audience, and it's very safe. I've been doing this since Many Lives, Many Masters came out. And in addition to that, some healing and visualization work, and this psychometry. This is where we break up into groups of 2 people, and people exchange a physical object, like a bracelet or a watch or a necklace, and we go into a deeper level, and they start knowing things about the other person. It's kind of an energy exercise that comes from holding this object. Then we discuss that, and some of the people with really interesting experiences during that exercise, they'll talk to the whole group about their experience, and it's some marvelous things have come out during this exercise. And again, in Miracles Happen, I have one chapter just with psychometry and what people experienced doing that exercise.
Do you recommend, like, let's say I come in with a friend, do you recommend I not partner with that friend for this particular exercise?
Well, that's a very good question too, because I'll talk about that in the group. But it's better to work with a stranger. Yeah. You can do it with a friend, yes, but not with, like, some person will come in and want to work with their mother, say. Like mother and daughter come to the workshop, and then I say, it's not so good as working with a stranger or a friend who doesn't know that many details of your childhood, say, because sometimes, let's say, as an example, people holding the object, you're working with the person, they start describing your childhood home. And they're describing it really exactly, your room and the bookcases, and it's amazing if they don't know you. Because how could they describe your childhood home in such detail? But if it's your mother, then it doesn't mean anything, because she knows it. So that's why the stranger, just because they'll come up with this stuff, which might be a direct hit, and if it's a stranger, you know that that's being transmitted psychically from a different level. And that's it. But working with a friend is okay. That's okay.
Going to the, particular items like personal belongings, what is your take on when somebody, like, goes to a used clothing store and buys something that belongs to somebody else, right? And they put it on. Are they carrying the energy of that person that was wearing that once upon a time?
A little bit, yeah. There's energy there. They're less so with clothes because it's more diffuse. And people talk a lot about this, and we're doing this all the time. But it's something that's not overwhelming. You can be holding an object and understand more about the other person. There's an energy there, but it's not going to contaminate you or be overpowering, that kind of thing. So, yeah, you can buy used clothes and buy a used house, and other people have lived in there. There will be an energy, but you can handle that. Yeah, and there are ways to dilute it and to diminish it.
The thing is, I don't do that because of that particular reason, because I don't know who's wearing it once, before.
Yeah.
But what I do get the secondhand is like records and
right.
And that's a little different because you don't wear it. You're like putting it.
Yeah, that's true. Clothes you're putting right around your body. So no, the record would be okay. Records, those kinds of things, because
antiques, stuff like that.
Of course, you just touch it occasionally, but you're not wearing it. So that's okay. Yeah, I don't want to say because people are leaving energy trails everywhere, but there are ways to dilute it, to diminish it. And if you fill yourself with light and meditate and do these kinds of things, no energy is going to come through and do anything that's harmful.
Wow. Well, that's really looking forward to the April 6th event.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to coming to Hawaii and experiencing the islands. I've been waiting a long time for this, and to actually come and do a workshop, that's even better. So I get to meet a lot of people and share some great experiences together.
And there's more detailed information on Dr. Brian Weiss's website, which is brianweiss.com. And at the workshop, it kind of gives you a little detail there about what's going to happen. You're going to discover extraordinary details about your past, release old phobias and fears, and so much more. It's all in the website. So people that have ailments, body ailments, I mean, that's kind of, you kind of have to work with them, right? And try to, it kind of helps remove those obstacles or blocks.
Yeah, just remembering it seems to have a healing or at least amelioration. It gets better. Same as in traditional psychotherapy. When you remember the root causes of the symptoms, the traumas or events that cause a symptom, it causes a clearing of it. It gets better. Sometimes one time, a phobia is particular, like on the Oprah show when I was working with people who had phobias, they all got rid of the phobias the first time. Doesn't always happen that quickly, but sometimes it can. So some people come in and feel better, but oftentimes it takes more than one time. And I have CDs people can practice with, or on my website or Facebook, there's a way to kind of connect to a free regression that I do. That's up there. They can experience that just through the internet.
Do you think vertigo is related to some kind of prior existence?
Sometimes yes, sometimes no. It can be, because so many things have caused dizziness or that kind of thing in past lives. But it may be related to inner ear disturbance or other physiological causes too. So sometimes you can't tell in the beginning whether it's from a past life or not. But to do the past life regression is very safe, and if that gets rid of the symptom, that's really fast. And that would tell, if it gets rid of the symptom, then it's not only a physical cause.
Wow, I'm really, really excited. And once again, Dr. Brian Weiss is on the radio with me. You're listening to A Feast of Friends. Dr. Brian Weiss is the author of Miracles Happen, his latest book, and of course the famous ever so Many Lives, Many Masters, and also my favorite, Only Love Is Real, and so much more. And I'm looking forward to meeting you and seeing you here on April 6th.
Thank you, DJ.
At the Hawaii Convention Center. And what do you plan to do here when you get here? I mean, outside, besides this, do you have any, is there something you really want to look at and see here in Hawaii?
I'm not sure yet. I have some friends there, so I'm sure they're thinking this through already, some sort of itinerary. They're giving me some ideas and suggestions, and some people I'll meet on Maui and some people in Honolulu. So I'm kind of leaving it up to them because they know it so much better than I do.
You know, they have to tell you about what we have some, some tales, some legends.
Yes.
Yes. Like for example, you can't take a pork down the Poly Highway, and those kind of things. And there's more. I'm sure they'll tell you. We have a history here of all kinds of things.
I know. I know. It's fascinating. I'm really looking forward to coming out there, and hopefully we'll meet. And
yes.
I'll meet a lot of people at the event too. So looking forward to that.
Thank you so much for your call, Doctor.
Thank you, DJ.
And we'll see you on April 6th at the Hawaii Convention Center. That's April 6th. Dr. Brian Weiss.
Yes.
Who's going to take us past life regression, soulmates, and so much more. All right. Thank you, Doctor. We'll
okay. Until then, aloha.
Aloha. There you go. Aloha.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.